Very good morning, students. In the yesterday's session, in the previous session, we have discussed about the responsibility centers in detail. How many responsibility centers? The organization is totally bifurcated into 4 types of responsibility centers. First one is the cost center, revenue center, profit center, investment center. Now, what we discussed about cost center is a location, place, or item of equipment for which costs are ascertained and used for the cost control. Revenue center, it is center required to generate the revenue. More about your marketing centers, etc. Profit center is a combination of revenue center and cost center. Profit is measured, income minus expenses. Investment center is more about utilization of your excess surplus funds or investment type. We also discuss the evaluation of 4 types of responsibility centers. How the cost center is evaluated, comparing my standard cost with my actual cost, and finding out the variance and investigate the variances. How do? We can discuss in standard costing and variance analysis chapter. How the revenue center is evaluated. Revenue center, the target is about budget revenue, comparing with your actual revenue. That is the evaluation of revenue center. Profit center, already discussed, budget profit comparing with your actual profit. In terms of investment center evaluation is comparing your budgeted return on investment with actual return on investment. Remember these 4 words, very important. And now, as I told in the earlier session, how the cost centers are maintained, what is the use of cost centers? I will demonstrate with the help of a real example with the use of Tally. So this cost centers we use in SAP, all these things, but primarily I'll explain you in the Tally, then you can understand the importance of these responsibility centers even in your career, because when you after qualification, for example, while posting the entry, if you don't know what is cost center, and while doing articles also, it is very important. That is the reason I'm taking a separate session for this cost center in terms of Tally. Let me share a screen. Let me open Tally. So what I'll do is that I'll quit and try to create a new Tally. And I'll try to explain it. Okay. Hope it is audible and visible, right? I'll create a new company. That is assume during discussion we discussed about retail outlets in terms of BPCL. I'll create a company which is similar to oil producing companies. I'll put ABC Limited. The name of the company is what? ABC Limited. Address I am keeping some Visakhapatnam. Country India. Andhra Pradesh. Pin code I am putting some number. Contact details I am not keeping anything. The 1st April 20. I have created a company. Yes, correct. Right. So what I'm doing here, let us see carefully. First, I'm going to In accounting features, I'm enabling cost centers. Maintain cost centers, yes. Use cost center for job costing, maintain one cost centers. So first, as I discussed that first we need to have a general ledgers. General ledgers are used for financial accounting. Cost centers are required for cost accounting. Okay. First, let me create few ledgers. Multiple ledgers I'll create directly under head indirect expense. Because on the day we discussed that how for example, you have 5 retail outlets. So let us assume of 13,000 retail outlets, keeping ledger, repairs and maintenance ledger for 13,000 ledgers means 13,000 retail outlets means you need to create 13,000 ledgers. Not possible, right? So first I'll create general ledgers, which is required for financial accounting. Under indirect expense, I'm putting repairs and maintenance. Okay. Second one, I'm putting salaries and wages. General ledgers I'm keeping. So these all ledgers which are reflected where in terms of financial accounts, your profit and loss account, in balance sheet, etc. Third one, I'm starting with something called staff welfare. Fourth one, I'm going with another ledger called what I can say, advertisement. Let us assume next one I'll be going with something a ledger called can I go with the conveyance charges, traveling and conveyance. So I have created the ledgers. What we do normally, if there is no cost center accounting, we'll create a voucher, let us assume cash payment to repairs and maintenance 1,000, etc., etc. We'll do with this. Correct? Now, normally what happens, repairs and maintenance, 10,000, staff welfare 1,000. Normally we post those general ledgers in terms of financial account. Now, what we do with cost center reports, how to create cost centers in this accounting package software. Let us assume here they have cost categories. What is said about cost center? Cost center can be a location, a place, or item of equipment. So it can be person, place, or item of equipment. I'm creating cost categories. Let us assume cost categories are retail outlets. Okay. Now I'm taking cost centers. Now I'm creating cost centers. What I assume each retail outlet is one cost center for my what I can say evaluation of cost. Under which cost center? Retail outlets. I'm putting, as I discussed in the earlier case, how the cost centers are given some numbers, right? I'm putting one number, 1,000 Amirpet. Next, another retail outlet, another 1,100 KPHP. Under retail outlets, 1,200 Secunderabad. Under another retail outlet, that is issue 1,300 is for, can you tell me some name in terms of Hyderabad, LB Nagar. I'm keeping it 1,400. Let us assume take it to Paradise Junction, or we can say something about Lingampally. I have considered 5 retail outlets. Normally, for example, understand here carefully. and understand how it is going to be used. So I'm accepting those five. Normally, if I'm incurred repairs and maintenance, if I want to post, if I want to know separately what I need to create, I need to create file edges for repairs and maintenance. Repairs and maintenance, Amirpet, repairs and maintenance, KPHP, repairs and maintenance, LB Nagar, repairs and maintenance, Lingampalli, repairs and maintenance, some X and X. Now create those main ledgers is difficult. Now that is the reason I've created cost centers. Now let us assume how we post the entry. Let us go to accounting voucher. You are making some cash payment. Now see carefully. You have incurred repairs and maintenance at let us assume at LB Nagar 3,000 rupees. Here you need to give what is LB Nagar cost center. The retail outlets 1,300. So total 3,000. So whether you incur, so for example, if you incur 3,000 for LB Nagar, you'll allocate 3,000 here. No, sir, I've incurred only 2,000 for LB Nagar and 1,100 for KPHP. So 3,000 I've incurred. I'll post the entry. Second one, let us take few entries, then you can understand it. You have made the salaries. Total, you have paid some 1 lakh rupees as salaries. Now, what is the cost center, sir? Sir, Amirpet, I paid 25,000. KPHP, I paid some 20,000. Secunderabad, I paid some 25,000. LV Nagar, I paid some 15,000. Lingampalli, I have paid some 15,000. So total amount I have paid. Narration being salaries paid. Okay. You have posted this entry. Let us take another ledger. What is the ledger? Let us assume advertisement cost. 5,000 rupees advertisement cost you have incurred specifically for Lingampalli outlet. Now let us take another ledger. Traveling and conveys. I paid some 15,000. Now I'm bifurcating it. So Amirpet 4,000. Secunderabad 3,000. Lingampalli 5,000. 1,100. If I put again 1,000, it says duplicate entry. Okay. So what is missing, Amma? I'll go to LB Nagar 3,000 rupees. So this is how you have incurred the payments. Now, if I go to profit and loss account, which financial accounts gives me is that all my indirect expenses are 1,23,000. Can I get bifurcation of how much advertisement costs I incur for Lingampalli petrol output? You need to go open the ledger, find out by using narration. Otherwise, you need to create file edges for advertisement, file edges for repairs and maintenance, file edges for salaries and wages, file edges for traveling and conveyance. For a simple example of 5 retail outlets. Assume that if you have having 13,000 retail outlets, 4,000 gas stations, number of factories, number of missions. Okay. Now assume that how many ledgers you need to maintain? You need to maintain some 1 lakh ledgers approximately. It becomes clumsy, right? Now for financial accounting purpose, what is required? I need only for each item wise. This is sufficient for financial accounting. But for my cost control, this information is not sufficient because it is not giving me the full information, which is required for the decision making purpose. Now, what I am doing, I'll go to cost centers. Cost centers. I'll go to cost center breakup or ledger breakup. Like if it is advertisement, see, they have 4 summary. If you want, you can go with the category wise. So out of 1,23,000, which is my total expense, whether it is under any general ledger, if I am having 1,23,000 incurred, I have incurred Amirpet 29,000, KPHP 21,000, Secunderabad 28,000, LB Nagar 20,000, Lingampalli 25,000. Now I can make a comparison. Why I am incurring more cost at Amirpet, less cost in LB Nagar? Why I'm incurring some more costs in Secunderabad and less cost in Lingampally or KPHB? What is my sales in the respective outlets? I know what is my cost. I'll compare with my sales. Then I'll take a decision making. Now this is about the total level. Now if I want cost center wise, if I take retail outlets of 1000 Amirpet, you have spent 29,000. Under which category you have spent? Under salaries and wages 25,000. Under traveling conveyance only 4,000. So there is no advertisement cost in Amirpet. If I go to KPHB, only repairs and maintenance and salaries and wages. If I go to Secunderabad, only salaries and traveling expense. If I go to Lingampally, I'm incurring extra cost of repairs and maintenance, salaries and wages, traveling and conveyance. If I go to Lingampally, advertisement cost, salaries and wages, and traveling and conveyance. If I go a little bit, ledger-wise breakup, advertisement. Why did I spend total advertisement cost? This year I spent only on Lingampally. Why, sir? Whether any sales have increased or not? If I go to repairs and maintenance, I incurred only at KPHP and LB Nagar. Why there is no repairs and maintenance at the retail outlets? And if I go to salaries and wages, 1 lakh have incurred more cost in Amirpet, KPHP, Secunderabad, less cost in LB Nagar, Lingampally. That means whether I'm giving more salaries in those 3 retail outlets or I'm giving under salaries in terms of LB Nagar and Lingampally. Comparisons. Sir, ultimately, what are you going to do, sir? The business analysis. We are not for giving the data. We need to use the data for multiple decisions. That is what we have discussed about management accounting. Staff welfare, no cost. Traveling and conveyance, I've incurred 4 these levels. If I want to go group-wise breakup, indirect expense is the group. So in indirect expense, because I don't have any direct expenses, all I kept under indirect expenses. So the comparison of each retail outlet is possible only when you make a cost center. Now, similarly, if you want to track the salaries and wages for each employee wise, create another cost center for a person. Accounts info, cost centers, create. For example, I'm creating a name called Madhavan. I'm creating under primary cost, I'm putting a Madhavan. Some name. I'm putting another name called Jeevan. I am putting another name called some Krishna. I'm keeping another name called Madhu. I'm putting another name called Srinivas. These are my employees. I assume these are my employees. Now, what I'll do with this, sir, if you want to track the salary, because cost center can keep it for a person also. Because if I assume those are my 5 directors in my company, I need to report in my annual report the perquisite and allowances, the salaries and perquisite and allowances paid to each director. Now that means for example, I tell you what is the volume of transaction. When we are doing for BPCL, when we download the trial balance, sometimes the amount may not be fitted into this Excel cell also. The reason is that the turnover is somewhere about 3 lakh crores. Daily there is something more than 50,000 transactions will be posted across the locations. Among those, can we able to identify each and every transaction which is required at my annual reporting data? Unless you prepared for the beginning, if you want at the last minute, getting the data is very difficult. Now what I'll do, I am posting an entry, I'm paying some cash salaries, somewhere about 40,000. Primary cost. I will get some names, right? Madhavan, 10,000. Madhu, 5,000. Srinivas, 4,000. 40. So that is a small amount of 20,000. G1, 2,000. Krishna, 3,000. It is issue. We have created, we have posted the entry. Now you find out, go to cost center reporting, display, books, cost centers. If you want cost center breakup, G1, This is your paid 2,000 rupees. You can report straight away. Allowances, separate ledger under again cost center. Sir, otherwise you wanted to create for a mission. Create, sir, what happened? Create a ledger, create a cost center, create a cost center. Cost category can change it. For example, missionary. This is my cost category. Under cash category, I am putting a mission called some Impex mission. I am putting another called counting mission. I created two. Now I am incur repairs and maintenance for these missions. Go to general ledger, cash payment, repairs and maintenance, 5,000. Category what? Missionaries. Under missionaries what? Under missionaries what? Let us assume Impex mission, 4,000. Counting mission, 1,000. Post the entry. Okay. So now what happens is that what you require for financial accounting? This amount data. What is required for cost center reporting? Cost center reporting. Cost centers, category summary, mission wise. This is called, I may discuss in another chapter called integrated, non-integrated accounting systems. When the financial accounts and the cost accounts are maintained, the same system we call as integrated cost accounting system. When the financial accounts are different, when the cost records are different, when we maintain that we call as non-integrated cost system. That means posting one entry I'll get the information required for financial accounts. I'll get the information required for cost records. This is we called as integrated cost accounting system. When we maintain separately both the cost accounting system, we call it as non-integrated cost accounting systems. Because the time has come, that is the reason I explained this. Okay. Now, for example, I kept each one as one cost center, and I try to understand what is the total cost incurred. The financial accounting wise, I don't want this missionary wise, retail outlets wise. I want GL wise, general ledger wise. What I required here for cost records is for each cost center wise. I'll do the analysis. If I take ledger wise breakup, like for example, salaries and wages, how did you spend? Repairs and maintenance, how did you spend? So for better cost control purpose, we use the cost centers. Hope you are very clear about the cost centers record. So whatever the information I require for financial accounts, so one ledger wise I need. Ledger wise I need repairs and maintenance. How much you have spent? 8,000. This is required for financial accounts. But how this 8,000 rupees spent? Go to cost centers. Go to cost centers. Ledger wise breakup. Let's pick repairs and maintenance. How did you spend 8,000? 5,000 in terms of missionaries, 3,000 in terms of retail outlets. This is we called as cost centers. This is very useful for cost control, for evaluation of the cost. Hope. Dear students, now what we discuss now is about cost centers in a detailed manner. Okay. Now, yes, I'll explain two more concepts in this video. So then next session we'll discuss about all other costs, what are the required in the first chapter. Now, I'll take you to our institute material. Two important topics. Cost centers we have learned. Now come to cost objects and the cost unit. This cost object topic will also discuss in activity-based costing also, but it's better if you can understand it itself. What is meant by cost object, sir? Cost object is anything for which separate measurement of cost is required. Cost object may be product, service, project, customer, brand, activity, department, or program, etc. Now I wanted to find out, for example, I'm running a CA institute. Now, if I wanted to find out the cost of CA inter course, that is one cost object. If I wanted to know the cost of running CA final, that is one cost object. Or, for example, I'm practicing chartered accountant dealing with a number of clients. For example, what is the cost of doing an audit of XYZ Limited, which is a service? What is the cost of producing a product called X? I'm a construction contractor. I am constructing different numbers of buildings. If I wanted to find the cost of particular building, particular apartment, that is a cost object. For which you wanted to measure, for which you wanted to know the cost of, that is we call as cost object. We rename it as cost object. If you wanted to find out the cost of this one, this is one cost object in our organization. For example, if I am producing calculators, what is the cost of each this one? Or I'm dealing with contractors. What is the cost of this building? I'm dealing with n number of clients. What is the cost of servicing this client? What is the cost of this product? Or what is the cost of this brand? What is the cost of this activity? Because in activity-based costing, more we are discussing about cost object. Now, for example, you're doing purchase ordering. Purchasing ordering is an activity. If you wanted to find out the cost of that ordering purchase activity, that is we rename it as cost object. So cost object is something for which separate measurement of cost is required. We call it as cost object. So the cost objects can be always, I'm repeating again, cost objects can be product, a service, a project, an activity, a process, or department. Now, for example, they are given some example because this is very important for an examination point of view. What they do is that write the cost objects for this one. For a product, smartphone, you are manufacturing smartphones. The cost of each smartphone is a cost object. Table complete, computer, SUV car, book, etc. Service, for example, I'm servicing a client. What is the cost of that? Airline flight from Delhi to Mumbai, concurrent audit assignment, utility bill payment, etc. Project, what is the cost of this metro rail? Or what is the cost of metro rail project in Amirpet? That is one cost object. An activity, what I said, purchase ordering is an activity. Quality inspection is an activity. Okay, what I can say, inspection is one activity. Okay, repairment or replacement, repairs is one activity. So what is the cost of each activity? Process, refinement of crude oil process. For example, your process is completed in 2 to 3 processes. What is the cost of each process? That is what we discussed in process cost. So cost of each process is a cost object. Department, production department, what is the cost? Service department, what is the cost? Finance and accounts, what is the cost? HR, what is the cost? So for where you wanted to have simple understand this point, for which you wanted to know the separate cost, that is we called as cost object. So we do normal. For example, let us assume that your kids are studying. Okay. Now, for example, a kid is studying 10th class, a kid is studying 9th class. What is if you want to find out the cost of this one, what is the cost of this one separately? Or you are traveling from, for example, you wanted to go to tour. You wanted to go to some Manali. Now you wanted to track the cost of this Manali. So from booking, train or flight or lodging, boarding, staying. If you wanted to know the total Manali trip, you say that 10,000 rupees or 1 lakh rupees is the cost. So wherever you wanted to have a separate measurement, that is we call as what amount? Cost. Now, second one, cost unit. Sir, it is a unit of a product or service in relation to which cost may be ascertained or expressed. Understand the difference between cost object and cost unit. Now let us assume CA enter is one cost object. I wanted to know the total cost of this CA enter. Sir, but I want to define what is the cost for each student in CA enter. That is we call as cost unit. So cost unit is a product. It can be a unit of product, service, or time in relation to which cost may be ascertained or expressed. Now, for example, cost units are usually the types of physical measurement like number, weight, etc. Sometimes cost unit and cost object may be same, very in few cases. I'll explain that few cases also. Like for example, you are doing a construction contract. You are constructing 10 residential flats. Cost object can be each residential flat and cost unit is also each residential flat. So in some instances, both are remains the same. But in majority cases, cost object is bigger one. Cost unit is for which you wanted to find out the cost is called cost unit. We're expressing here. For example, for automobile, cost of each car. Cement, what is the cost for each ton? Chemicals, What is the cost for each liter? Power, kilowatt hour. Steel, what is the cost of each ton? Transport, what is the cost of each passenger kilometer? That means, for example, how did you get the passenger kilometers? We'll be discussing in operating costing or service costing. Gas, what is the cost of each cubic feet? Students, if you wanted to know, you need to understand that industry nature. Now, for example, if you are dealing with cement industry, if I say that number of liters is my cost unit, absolutely wrong, because cement cannot be measured in number of liters. So cement per ton or per bag. Okay. So some other examples which they may ask you in examination is brewing, like alcohol, beer, so barrel wise. Brick making, 100 bricks, 1000 bricks. Coal mining per each ton. Electricity per kilowatt hour. Engineering, each contract wise or each job wise. Oil is measured in barrels. Barrel is somewhere about 7.5 metric tons, I remember. 10 or each per liter. Hotel or catering, each room, or cost of each room, or cost of each meal. Professional services, there are some professionals who charge per minute. There are professionals who charge per hour. So for each job wise, this internal assignment, this is the cost. Education, each course wise, each student wise, each successful student wise, you can calculate. Hospitals, number of patients, patient day, if it is inpatients. In some activities like credit control, number of accounts you are maintaining. For example, your credit control department, you are dealing with 100 accounts. Each account, what is the cost? What would be the cost? How will you calculate the cost of each account? Total cost incurred in the department divided by number of accounts maintained. Selling, each customer wise, value of sales, etc. Material storage and handling. So number of requisition units issued or received, etc. Personal administration, that means HR department. Your HR department cost is total 1 lakh. How many employees are maintaining? 1000 employees. 1 lakh divided by 1000, 100 rupees. Okay. This is about cost unit. So for which you wanted to ascertain the cost, that is we called as cost unit. For which separate measurement of cost is required, it is called cost object. Next one. Cost driver. Cost driver is very important concept in activity-based cost. Total activity-based costing will move around cost driver. Now, cost driver is the driver. Majority of costing terms we can able to understand from the name itself. Cost driver, which drives the cost. If you are driving more, cost is more. If you are driving less, cost is less. So, what are you saying, sir? Are you able to understand now? Cost driver is an activity which is responsible for cost increase. Now, for example, purchase ordering. Now, if I place number of orders more, for example, one purchase order cost me 100. If I place 10 purchase orders, what would be the cost? Proportionately 1000. If I place 100, 10,000. Now, for example, if I place only 5 orders, 500. If I place only 2 orders, 200. If I place 10 orders, 1000. So it is an activity which is responsible for cost increase. Now, what is that level of activity? Can be volume or can be an activity. Now, for example, cost driver in a SIMA official terminology is factor influencing the level of cost. Now, tell me, your purchase order cost depends on what? Number of purchase orders. Purchase ordering cost depends on number of purchase orders. What is an activity here? What is my cost driver here? Number of purchase orders. So if my number of purchase orders are increasing, more is the purchase ordering cost. If my number of purchase orders is less is the purchase ordering cost. It is driving the cost. Your purchase ordering cost is dependent on a cost driver called purchase orders, number of purchase orders. Quality inspection. Quality inspection is one cost. Now this quality inspection cost is driven by an activity called number of inspections. If my number of inspections are more is the quality inspection cost. If my number of inspections are less is my inspection cost. This is called cost driver. So cost driver is an activity which is responsible for cost increase. Now, that means simple understanding, factor influencing the level of cost. What is my factor here? Number of purchase orders is a factor. And it is influencing which cost? Ordering cost. Number of inspections is my factor, which is influencing my inspection cost. So this is we called as cost drivers. Examples of cost drivers are number of mission setups, setup cost. Setup cost. What is setup cost? For example, I remember when I'm doing an audit for a pipes industry. For example, normally pipes is continuous basis. For example, to produce a pipe, the machine needs to be heated for 24 hours. In these 24 hours, we call it a setup time. What is the cost you'll incur in terms of this setup time? You need labor, you need material, you need electricity. All these costs comes under a setup cost. Setup cost is productive? No, setup cost is not productive. Now, for example, today I produced and again closed, again stopped the machine, again tomorrow I need setup. 24 hours is extra cost for every time. If my number of setups are increasing, my setup cost will increase. Now, what is my number of setups is a cost driver. And what is my customer? What is my cost here? Setup cost. Number of purchase orders, number of hours spent on inspection, number of tests performed. So these are the examples of what I'm a cost driver. So what did we learn here, students? We have learned about cost center practically, how the financial accounts and cost centers are maintained. The integrated accounting system, non-integrated accounting system also I can able to explain here. Then we have understood cost object for which separate measurement of cost is required is called cost object. Cost unit for which it's a unit of product or service for which cost may be ascertained. For each industry, the cost unit is different. Then cost driver, which is a factor which is influencing the cost. Number of setups, number of purchase orders, etc. etc. Now, let me complete this session with one more important topic. Responsibility centers I've explained again. Who are the users of cost and management accounting? So who will be using this data set? Internal users, external users. Because these are the questions which they are asking exam. Whatever I discussed, cost center, cost object, cost unit, cost driver, there are questions which they ask you for 5 marks. They may ask you write the cost driver for each activity. We'll discuss separately in activity-based cost. Write the cost object, write the cost and unit for each type of industry. So you need to understand, you need to learn those things very clearly. Who are the users of cost and management accounting? Internal users within my organization, external users outside my organization. Internal users, managers, operational level staff, employees. External users, regulatory others like government, auditors, shareholders, traders, and lenders. Internal users, why managers use this cost data set to find out the cost of a cost object or cost. So that is the reason institute will not give in a proper. So for example, if I wanted to understand what is cost object and cost center, first I should know what is cost object and cost center. That is the reason I may not go in the sequence wise, because I can explain to know the cost of cost object or cost center. Do you know what is cost center and what is cost object? If I didn't explain what is a cost object and cost center, how can you understand this point? That is the reason I may not go in sequence way, but at the end of the chapter, you are very clear that we will be covering each and every topic in the study material. So to find out the cost of a cost object and cost center, because financial accounting gives only general ledger wise, whereas cost accounting gives me cost center wise or cost object wise. To know the price of product or service, because when you know the cost of product or service, you can add the margin to find out the price. To measure and evaluate performance of the responsibility centers. So what is responsibility centers? So responsibility centers are given down in our institution material, page number 19. Whereas in the users of cost and management accounting, they said to measure and evaluate the performance of responsibility centers. How can you understand responsibility centers here? So that is the reason you follow according to my classes. Responsibility centers are four: cost center, profit center, cost center, revenue center, profit center, investment center. Evaluation of cost center, comparing standard cost with actual cost. Evaluation of revenue center, comparing my budget revenue with actual revenue. Evaluation of profit center, comparing my budget profit with actual profit. Evaluation of investment center, comparing my budget return on investment with actual return on investment. To know the profitability product-wise, department-wise, and customer-wise, to evaluate the strategic options and to make the decisions like shut down or continue, etc. Operation level staff, those who uh, those who are like supervisors, not middle level, operational, those who do the real work. Operational level staff like supervisors, foreman, team leaders required to know the objectives and performance goals for them, to know product and service specifications, how much we need to produce, to know the performance parameters, because responsible center, for example, person is given. Now, to give their performance parameters, I'll be using the cost accounting data. To know the divisionals, profitability, etc. Employees are concerned with many information like for attendance, incentives. We have a chapter called employee cost, under which system we give the bonus, etc. etc. Okay, that is about internal use. What external use? Regulatory authorities, very useful. Cost audit was made applicable to some types of industries like electricity, mining, uh, production companies with turnover of 100 crores, etc. etc. We need to give very detailed wise, item wise, we need to give the data. Now, what this regulator, that is like government or ministries, they do is that they take the data, whether they are charging more, whether they are charging less. Second point, till 2014, the oil prices are regulated. What is meant by regulated? Sir, regulated by government. They will only fix the selling price. Now, for example, till 2014, let us assume that the oil prices are regulated by government. The government only will say you need to sell this petrol and diesel at this price. As a company, sir, my cost is more or less. Earlier, they said that you need to sell the petrol at 50 rupees, whereas my cost is 65. Now, who will reimburse this extra 15 rupees? Government. That is in the form of oil bonds, etc. That is about not about politics till 2014. The prices of oil, diesel, kerosene, everything are not changing daily, maybe yearly once, increase or decrease. After deregulation, that means government do not have control on the prices. Okay, so you are saying no control. Normally, paperly, on paper, there is no control. They can dictate. So they do not have any control on prices. Oil companies, based on their cost, they'll fix the selling price. Earlier, they used to change every month. Now they are changing daily. Now, unless I give the correct cost data to the government, how can they reimburse my extra cost? So that is the reason the cost accounting data is used for regulatory authorities, for giving tariff determination or giving subsidies, rate fixation, etc. Auditors, yes, we are statutory auditors. We wanted to find out the cost. We may use the cost data. Okay. Or if you are doing cost audit, the cost records are required for cost data, cost audit. Shareholders, yes. So shareholders, what they do is that they try to give the cost data to the annual reports, not much data. What is required only they'll try to give it. How many new orders are received, product expansion, market share, etc. Creators and analysts, they'll try to understand whether the companies have ability. If I tell them the cost data, for example, my production cost is less and my selling price is more, the creators, lenders, and bank are satisfied, or they are having confirmation that they'll be having that confidence on the company that these people can repay their debts. Now, essentials of good cost accounting system. So, sir, if any cost accounting system should have some features, informative and simple. The cost accounting should be some little tailor-made, practical, simple, and it should be able to meet the requirements of that business concern. So, for example, if it is not simple, if it is very complicated, employees may not be used. We see many accounting softwares, they purchase, organizations purchase, but they do not wanted to use the data because it is complex. Now, when we are in, when I'm used to work in a company, there is some Excel modeling where that if we can able to keep the trial balance, all my data will come into picture. That Excel is having a lot of complications. I prefer not to use that many times. I used to use only old type of information. If it is, unless it is simple, the employees may not prefer to use that. So your cost accounting system should be simple. Okay, accurate and authentic, very important. Any accounting system you are using for decision making purpose, unless it is accurate and authentic, the decisions if you take based on data, if it is not accurate, it is giving misleading results, which affects the total company. Uniformity and consistency, yes, sir, very important. What about the item? For example, now I have incurred some cost at the fund missionary. If I able to book it under one head, I should be able to consistent. Otherwise, what happens that last year I am booking under different ledger, this year under different ledger, my comparison is no more useful. It should have uniform and consistent. Integrate and inclusive. Integration is very important. Your financial accounting and cost accounting data should be integrated. Now I explain in Tally what is integration. So one entry will give the data about financial accounting, will give the data about costing. Unless it is integrated, I need to maintain separate books for financial accounting. I need to maintain separate books for cost accounting, which is a little difficult for me, very expensive. Flexible and adaptive. So if there is any amendment, I need to do easily changes. And trust on the system. Management should have trust on the system, its output. So whatever the data I get from this cost accounting system, management should have able to trust it. Okay. So whenever you wanted to installation of a costing system, the following must be studied. Objectives. Why you need to have a cost accounting system? So if you are dealing with only one product, no need of any cost accounting system, because same data you're going to get. When you're dealing with multiple products only, the cost accounting is useful. Nature of business or industry, which, sir, before you install a cost system, try to understand your nature. I'll tell you simple example. Sir, you wanted to keep cost centers in your business. You don't know what is your business model itself. Now, how will you create cost centers? So studying the business, studying the industry is very, very important before you implement any cost accounting system. Organizational hierarchy. So cost accounting system should fulfill the information requirements of different levels of management. There is a top management, there is a operational level, there is a middle level management. The cost data should able to what I can say, satisfy the needs of all levels of my management. Knowing the product, nature of product determines the type of cost system to be implemented. So for example, if I am dealing with process costing, I need to implement process costing. If I'm dealing with service job system, I need to do it. Methods of cost. In case of perishable and short life products, marginal costing is appropriate. So you should be able to know the product before you install a cost accounting system. Knowing the production process, that is what we discussed in process costing, because you should be able to identify the cost incurred for each process. Unless you know the process, it's difficult to implement cost accounting system. Information synchronization. Establishment of a department or system requires substantial amount of organizational resource. It is not easy. It is literally expensive. When you need cost account system, make sure that it satisfies the other requirement, other departments also. Don't use it only for your financial accounts, your accounts department. Make it useful for HR people. Make it useful for marketing department, so that everybody can use this data. Methods of maintenance cost records is both can be in one integrated system or separate system of accounts you can maintain. Statutory complements and audits. So what about the records you maintain? Make sure that it satisfies both your stat audit and cost audit, etc. Information attributes. Sir, any information I get from the cost accounting system, it should be complete, accurate, timely, and relevant. Very important. Whatever I did, data should be very complete. Complete data I should get. Accurate data. Timely data. So if I want today, I need to get the timely data, relevant data. So then only your MIS is very powerful. Don't underestimate the power of MIS. Management information system is very important. When you give proper information to your management, they take proper decisions in the organizations. Yes. So responsibility centers, limitations of cost accounting. So every accounting system, there is advantages, there are disadvantages or limitations. Fewer expensive. Obviously, it is expensive because when you wanted to implement for a big company, studying, keeping resources, printing and stationery, departments is expensive. Requirement of reconciliation is your financial accounts gives a separate profit, your cost accounts gives a separate profit. Why sir? Few expenses will not be recorded in financial accounts, but recorded in cost accounts. There are few expenses which records in financial accounts, but not in cost accounts. Sir, what items sir, we'll discuss in cost accounting system? Duplication of work, unless it is integrated, same data we're maintaining in cost records, same data we're maintaining in financial accounts. So it is a duplication of work. Right? Classification of cost, I'll discuss later. So this totals methods of costing I've discussed. Techniques of costing also I discussed. So accept cost concepts, accept this classification of cost. I have discussed everything in chapter number 1. One more item is missing that I'll be using. I'm discussing it now because one full class I'll be keeping only for classification of the cost. What is that, sir? Cost accounting with the use of information technology. Now we have posted this general ledger accounting vouchers. We are doing manual or we are doing by using information technology, by using ERP systems. So with the expansion of e-commerce and increasing competitive business environment, information technology has become an integral part of each activity in an organization, including in cost and management accounting. Information technology has changed the cost and management accounting functions dramatically with the introduction of ERP systems. So what are the known ERP? Tally is one ERP system, SAP is one ERP system, Oracle is one ERP system, etc. Cost accounting and management information system has become automated and improved. How, sir? How it is improved, sir? I'll tell you a simple example. Now, for example, in a BPCL, there is a one, what I can say, one station, gas station. Now, usually earlier, all our data will come to accounting people, and accounting people will feed the journal entries, ledgers, etc. Now, this is removed. Now, for example, a person located who do not have an accounting knowledge, he'll be having a SAP system. When the items are received, he'll be reconciling with the purchase order. Item received, he'll confirm the quantity. Automatically, the vendor posting everything will get completed without the help of accounting people. HR people, they'll be given this ERP. They'll enter the data pay scale, which will generate the pay slips. It will generate the salary cost. A new industrial revolution, the form of digital innovation, which is popularly known as Industry 4.0, has more emphasis on digitization, automation of business process to have better control over cost to maintain market competitiveness. Cost accounting system has seen lots of savings in terms of time, money, and efforts. The impact of IT in cost accounting may be include following. After introduction of ERPs, different functional activities get integrated, and as a consequence, single entry into the accounting system provides custom-made reports for every purpose and saves our organization from preparing different set of documents. Reconciliation process of results of both cost and financial accounting system becomes simpler and less complex. Take an example of Tally, what we have posted. We are posting only one entry, repairs and maintenance to cash. It is giving me the data of repairs and maintenance. It is giving me the data of cost records. The more analysis, what is the more analysis, sir? I'll share it now. See. Cost centers, cost center breakup, each item wise, ledger wise, one entry I posted. I'll be able to get this group breakup, category summary. So only one post, one entry is able to give me the multiple information. This is all possible with watermark ERP systems. Right? A move towards paperless environment can be seen where documents like bill of material, requisitions, everything is posted. I'll tell you a simple example of how payment processing in the organizations happens. Now, for example, what they do is that when a bill comes, bill will be scanned and sent it to centralized process center. When the bills are scanned, he will see and he will purchase order would have been raised earlier, right? I'll check with purchase order and received. Both are matched, rates are matched, will be processed. Or whatever the deductions of statutory authorities will be deducted. And every Monday or every Tuesday, one payment system will come, process, payments are made automatically, paperless. Information technology with the help of internet are helping in resource procurement and mobilization. For example, production department can get materials from the stores without issuing material requisition notes physically because you prepared soft copies in it. There are some companies where I can, if I am a vendor, I can able to see the material position in my customer place, ERP. The ERP will have access to me. For example, I am manufacturing, let us assume a spare item, like what we do in Maruti and just-in-time concepts are I'm explaining now. What I'll do is that there is a contract with me and my customer. Below 1,000 items, if there is, put an order. What I'll do, my ERP and their ERP get integrated. Whenever there 1,000 items inventory is coming down, I'll place order, I'll send the items directly without any bill of material, etc., etc., etc. Uniformity in preparation of reports, budget standards can be achieved with the help of IT. ERP software always plays an important role in bringing uniformity irrespective of location, currency, language, and regulations. Cost and revenue variance reports are generated in real-time basis, which enables the management to take control measures immediately. Now, for example, if I've already kept standard cost, my actual cost is getting accounted. On one single week, I can get the variance without doing any manual works. IT enables an entity to monitor and analyze each process of manufacturing or service activity closely to eliminate non-value-added activities. What is value-added, non-value-added? Where did I explain this one? In value chain analysis. So in cost reduction, when you identify value-added and non-value-added activities, when you remove these non-value-added activities, productivity will be increasing in terms of value-added. That is what I told example of Facebook and YouTube. So you reduce your time of Facebook and YouTube, keep it more for productive purpose, you'll be getting results. So these are above examples where cost accounting are done with the help of IT. See many terms, see here, unless that is taught in a separate concept, it is difficult to understand here. Here they said eliminate non-value added activities. So what is value added, non-value added? That means for you need to understand what is value chain there. In value chain, cost reduction, or under cost reduction, value chain, value added, non-value added. Then you can able to relate that item here. Okay. Yes, students. This is what about first chapter, excluding the cost concepts. Cost concepts I'll be dealing in the next chapter. So this all we are completed. So summary is also there. Few more items like bifurcation of variable costs, fixed and semi-variable and variable. I'll explain the respective chapters. So we have a small MCQs. So if you want, you can understand this. Can we do those items? So let me do those test your knowledge. Dash is anything for which separate measurement is required. What is that cost object? Which of the following is true about cost control? It ends when the targets are achieved because remaining all are about cost reduction. Corrective function, challenging the set, challenges the set standards, concern with which feature, those are the features of cost reduction. Only cost control is ends with when targets are achieved. Cost units used in power sector. Power sector is what? Tell me. Kilowatt hour. Process costing method is suitable for what? When you produce, when the production takes in more than one process, like chemical industries. For transport sector, operating costing. Dam construction, construction contract or uh, contract costing. Okay, furniture making like job costing. Distinction between direct cost and indirect cost, an example of this will discuss in once you are complete with the cost concept, you can understand it. Advantage of using IT, use of IT in cost account does not include integration of various functions is advantage. Reduction in multiplicity of documents is an advantage. Customized reports can be prepared is an advantage. Stocks need to be reconciled with goods received note. That is not an advantage. We need to do manually that. Okay. This is also about semi-variable cost. Functional cost we can understand later. Ticket counter in a railway station is what? Ticket counter is what? Only about revenue. They do not incur any cost. So it is a type of revenue center. So theoretical questions also they ask you. So this is how they ask you. For each method of costing, suggested unit cost the following industries. Yes, students. So my classes are specifically or concept oriented and practical. I'm trying to explain each topic so that you'll be having an advantage when compared with the other institutes, etc. So they may not deal you practically, but what we did here is practical understanding so that that will be there in your mind forever. Okay. So there is one more session for introduction class, classification of cost. For that, after that, your first chapter is finished, then you can move to next chapters. Take care.